Okay, so today I am sanding the finish off these boards that I installed. I used the PPG product, Prolux. There's a combination of colors adding up to basically a mahogany tone. These boards that I installed are pressure treated, and well, I knew they wouldn't accept the stain readily, but I didn't want to leave the boards like this for 4 to 6 weeks until they became porous enough to accept the stain into this dark color. So I made a judgment call, and even though I brushed these with the very darkest color that was in the mix, it was called dark oak. I used 1 part dark oak, I used 1 part mahogany, and I used, I believe, either 3 or 4 parts clear. So while it's similar, they're obviously much lighter. I had intended later in the season to come back and put another coat of dark on them, but the right call was to just leave it as the pressure treated wood until it became porous enough. Once the pressure treated chemicals dissipated, and it would take the stain a lot better and I'd be able to match the color. So I'm going to sand all of the boards that I installed, let them dry out, and that's it. All right, here it's running. All right, that's good. All right, good. So another characteristic of this finish, when the finish is still performing, there's something called flashing that happens. Flashing is when the wood is still protected from a couple years ago. This is a one application process when you use this finish. So ideally you take a raw wood and you start your maintenance program with applying this finish. And then if it's applied correctly, between 2 and 4 years later, it becomes porous again. And the maintenance is very straightforward. You clean the deck with pressure washing or something if you need to, and then you apply the finish the same way that you did initially. In this circumstance, we did it about 2 years ago, and me being a floor man, we applied it very nicely with brushes and lamb's wool applicator, and we got it deep in the wood where we wanted it because we sanded it that time. This deck was in pretty rough state. I changed at least twice as many boards last time, and it was very splintered. We set the nails, sanded it, and basically brought a new life to the deck. Changed a bunch of, actually put these supports underneath with those little 2x4 ticos and hangers, So these stairs are very strong. And up here, anyhow, the flashing is an issue. I called customer service. I already knew about flashing, but I called customer service and they said it will dissipate. And I'm glad to say that since my evaluation last week, I've noticed a decrease in the amount of shininess flashing. Eventually this will all have the same appearance as this. This area we use the same product on. I used the palm sander on it, which definitely helped because this was really in a rough condition. Some of these pegs had raised. Anyhow, there was oxidation happening, so yeah. And a few other unfortunate things happened. I mean, this happens. It's embarrassing to have, but there's a boot print in the finish from when we were walking around putting the furniture. We basically paint our way and maneuver the furniture, so that I gotta touch up the boot print next time I come back. And this, someplace here, is a circular mark from the, there's a circular mark from the surface cleaner on the pressure washer. It's a round attachment, whereas two spinning heads with, there it is, there's one. That's what it looks like. And if you just stop for 1 second, it makes a mark in the wood that I didn't realize would be noticeable. I thought the stain would address that, but those are minor touch-ups. The main customer concerns are the flashing and the boards not matching. So long story short, this is all going to be addressed and look great. The flashing is going to dissipate through the season, and I'm guessing we're going to have at least 4 or 5 years before we're addressing this with any coats of finish again. But everything's a work in progress. A couple of things I wasn't so proud of here, but it's a work in progress and I'm fixing them. There's never a matter of mistakes happening. Mistakes happen to everyone. It's how you handle them. And I'm here and I'm dedicated to make sure that the customer's happy and this looks great. But I'm still proud of this deck, and I know that it's well protected and it's going to last for years. When I walked up to it 3 or 4 years ago, it was questionable due to its splintered condition if we were going to actually, well, I don't do that, but if somebody was going to put a new type of decking down altogether. Also the pressure washer. The pressure washer took some of the paint off of there. I'll touch that up easily when I come back. All right, that's it. We're going to let these boards bake and dry in the sun. Let all the pressure treated chemicals get out of it, and it'll be a good candidate for brushing these boards to match. I know I could brush these to make them match, but when they're pressure treated, you just cannot get finish into them. And I knew that. I just didn't want to leave the deck looking like this all season long, but that was actually the call, is to leave the boards like this until they were ready to be stained. Next time I'll know better. I always strive to get better.